everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we're really excited today. We are doing a little recap of one of our favorite movies from last year. Really excited to talk about Romance and Style. And I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and author Kelsie Stelting is here. And Kelsie, thanks for coming back.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it was so fun. We got to talk with you. I guess it feels like it was a million years ago, but
I know.
was it just last year? I guess it was just
Yeah.
last year. It seems like so long ago. But for people, I'll put the link down. People should watch that interview. But for people that missed that, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Hi, I'm Kelsie Stelting. I write body positive romance for teens and women.
Mm-hmm.
And my most popular series is the Curvy Girl Club, which features best friends and falling in love and body positivity and all of the butterfly moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I just admire what you do, not only because it's body positive, but I just think you're a good writer. And and I think you take what could honestly be a gimmick in the wrong hands, and you have really good characters. And I am not a YA person. I a lot of times those do not work for me at all. But I really like your characters, and you do such a good job of building realistic yearning between your characters. I this last one, I don't it might be my favorite, the surfers one.
Oh, really?
I really liked it.
I love that.
I thought it was excellent. I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, what's wrong with this girl? Like I felt like I was in agony the whole time. Like, come on.
Yes.
But she just lacked the confidence
Mhm.
to believe that this surfer guy, could actually be interested in her. And he has to go to kind of amazing lengths to convince her that he is attracted to her. And I thought that was very good.
I like to make the men work for it.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. But that's so swoon worthy. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Well, I feel like I wanted it to feel authentic, to like what life is like as a teen in a bigger body, because
Mm-hmm.
that's something I experienced, and I never really felt like I had anyone put my experiences to words, not in any books that I had read. So I was really
Mm-hmm.
happy that I could
Yeah.
kind of do that in these books.
Yeah. I mean, do you have a favorite of any of the books?
Oh man, I'm trying to think. I really love the first one because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like Rory is the most like me. Um,
Uh-huh.
but the easiest, like the one that the words just like poured and flowed, was Curvy Girls Can't Date Cowboys.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Like
was
I
a good
feel
one
like
too.
anytime I write about that couple, it's just like comes out of me.
Well, that was a really good one too, because her parents are
Yes.
tough.
Yes. She has
Yeah.
very strict parents and
Hmm.
very opinionated parents.
Yeah.
I know
Like
a lot
heaven
of us
forbid
feel,
someone be a farmer. You think it was like the worst thing.
like he's in the mafia or something.
Yeah. They probably prefer mafia over a farmer. Yeah. There's still a couple actually I haven't read that I need to. I still haven't read the Prince's one,
Oh, that's a good
or the
one.
Soldier's one.
I love those two.
Um, but I did read Best Friends. Enjoyed that.
Oh, good.
That was good. Uh,
That's one everyone was waiting for since book one.
oh, really? And I did read Bad Boys, and that was fun. A very sweet bad boy.
Yes, he had
Yeah,
a good heart.
yeah, he did. That was cute. I mean, I just really enjoy these books.
Fun.
I think you do a really good job of like drawing you in to the story and making me just like, come on, what's going on? Like I'm invested in the romance, which is what you want.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
and the funny thing is like I'm not the greatest at writing like bad boys. Like I just want to write the good guys, and I want
Uh-huh.
people to like feel good after
Yeah.
they read each book. So I'm glad that you get that.
Yeah. No, I like I said, I think that you do a good job with like the yearning of the characters and getting in the head of the male characters. They aren't just like bland kind of protagonists. They I don't know. I really really enjoy the dudes that you write.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I get a lot of help with that, to be honest.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, because you have all boys, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have 3 boys, I have a husband, so I'm always like asking like, "Would a guy say this?" And my editor is always like, "Would a guy say this, Kelsie?"
Yeah.
So
Well,
I have lots of good feedback.
yeah. Well, so I've noticed on the like the TikTok and the Instagram and everything that you've had a lot of these, you've been part of this sort of book uh TikTokers thing
Yes.
with the little stories about your, and I think that they do a great job. And I have to say, some of them I fell for it and I bought the books and they've been absolutely terrible.
Oh,
Yeah, so it can be deceptive.
yeah. You're like, "Where was this in the book again?"
Yeah. uh, but I think that that must have been fun to be a part of.
Yes, it's so fun, and the interesting thing is that it's a totally different skill than writing a book to condense it into like a 15-second video that people are actually interested in because you miss
Uh-huh.
so much of the nuance, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I live in the nuance
Mhm.
in my books.
Yeah, but it's just like creating this like tantalizing uh little video, thing to draw
Mhm.
people in. And was that something like the publisher approached you about, or
Oh, that's something that I've been, well, TikTok's this is kind of a funny story. So I was working in marketing full time at this point, and one of my coworkers came in and she's like, "My son's on this thing called TikTok and he does a dance and gets 500,000 views." And I was like, maybe I'll try it, but I have so much going on. I'm
yeah.
just blinders on, Kelsie. And then I was shipping books at the post office, and there was this lady there and she was shipping like coffee cups, I think. And she was like, "Are you on TikTok? You have to get on TikTok." And I was like, "Okay, it's a sign, I'll get on."
I know I held off for TikTok for a long time, but we do
Mhm.
have a Hallmarkies podcast, a TikTok. It's mostly my clips from Christmas Con,
Mhm.
like other clips from the podcast. But I've had a fun time with it. I've enjoyed it, so people should check that out. I can put a link in the description. But yeah, the the so far it's been a bit of a mixed bag. The ones I've tried, particularly Anne Marie Meyer, I don't recommend. I
Aw.
did not like her books at all. But you win some, you lose some. But the whole trend of the basically like a trailer for a book
Mhm.
is really fun.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ho, ho, ho! We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
All right, well, let's dive in to our movie today. Of course, it seemed like the perfect movie to talk with you about because it's, very about body positivity, is one of its messages. Romance in Style. It premiered last year, and you hadn't seen it, correct?
No,
You
I
didn't see
hadn't
it
seen
last
it
year.
before this.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of my favorites last year, and it stars JC Elliott and Benjamin Hollingsworth, and it's Ella's unique designs inspire publishing mogul Derek to include plus-sized fashion in his magazine. It's not long before Derek realizes Ella's influence reaches far beyond the catwalk. So overall, what do you think about this movie?
It was so cute.
Right?
It
Yeah.
was just cute, like nice and gooey, like a dish of ice cream.
And there were some people who said, oh, they're laying on the body positivity too strong in the film. But I, especially in the rewatch, I disagree because her character is in fashion. So of course she's going to have to, it's going to have to be more of a bully pulpit for her to get this change.
Mhm.
It's if she was just like a normal employee of nothing, talking body positivity all the time, then of course, yeah, that would not work. But it's literally part of her job, and she's trying to get this change at this magazine. And so for me, at least, I thought that it worked, and I thought that her character had a vulnerability to it and was a flawed character that you don't always see in Hallmark
Mhm.
movies, and I absolutely loved him. I thought that he was so swoon worthy, and I always love in these movies when I feel like the dude is just gone from the start. Like this,
Mhm.
from the very meet cute, he was smitten, and
Yes.
and especially for a plus size character that's very swoon-worthy and very romantic.
Mhm. Yes, because usually, like in movies, the guy who falls for her is like her best friend, or like she's been under his nose the whole time that
Yeah,
he sees her. So, like,
yeah,
yeah, that like instant attraction was kind of nice to
yeah.
see.
It's like,
Um,
"Oh, yeah, you actually are pretty," is usually how it goes down.
yes.
It's
Well,
like,
and let's be real, that actress was stunning. Like,
yeah. Oh,
she was
yeah.
just, yeah, she was gorgeous. She was like glowing in the whole thing and
Mhm.
very beautiful.
And I also thought they did a good job, and they don't always in Hallmark movies, of giving her some real fashion. I thought
Mhm.
she looked stylish, a lot of color blocking,
Mhm.
and bold colors, and it was like, okay, I can believe that she made these clothes.
Yeah, well, and I think it's like very intentional too, because a lot of like plus size fashion is like either like super loud and outdated, or it's like dark and designed to like hide you and
Yeah,
make you feel small, but like giving her the loud colors that draw the eye was
yeah.
cool.
There was a Hallmark movie last year called Undercover Holiday, and it was disappointing. And one thing is was so frustrating is they put the lead, who was like normal sized, whatever. They put her in just everything was just these like draping huge oversized sweaters and sweatshirts, and like nothing that hugged her body at all. And you're
Mhm.
just like, you could just tell that the people involved had no experience in dressing somebody that wasn't a stick thin normal Hallmark
Yeah.
lead. And it was very
Mhm.
frustrating. So I
Oh,
was grateful to this one that they made her look beautiful. And I also loved the fact that they had her sporting a ponytail, which you do not see that
yeah,
much
that's true.
for plus size models and actresses and things like that.
Yeah. No, I thought that was really good. And now that you mention it, like a lot of her clothes were form fitting. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if we're allowed to do spoilers, can we?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was a recap. So we're good.
Oh, okay. So like, in that final scene where she's like going to the party and it's like supposed to be her Cinderella moment, like that
Hmm.
dress was very like fitted and beautiful
Yeah.
and like drew attention to her body, which I
It's
loved.
true. Yeah, it was. So we have the setup. Their meet cute is she's getting the coffee, and he's talking on his phone, and she's like, "What's going on here?" And I thought that was really a cute, kind of funny way for them to meet, and kind of, it's not enemies to lovers, but like just a little bit of that energy kind of starting it
A
off.
little tension.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
little
I
tension.
liked
That's a
that
good word.
too. But like, going through the story, that was almost out of character for him because he was like such a sweetheart.
Yeah.
The thing, I was like, he wouldn't be talking on the phone while he's ordering from someone.
It's true. That's true.
But like,
Well,
yeah, the setup was really good. And I
yeah.
I was giggling as they were like walking down the street and like, are you following me? Like there's some
Mhm.
really good banter
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. And then, yeah, of course, then when she sees him at the office, because she's just there to help out her roommate who's working on a shoot, and so she's going to be there as a sewer to kind of help. Uh, and that's the other thing that I think worked is that she she wasn't she was confident and strong, but then there was this like underlying vulnerability that that especially when it comes to a relationship and not really believing that someone like him could be interested in her. And
Hmm.
I think that that is definitely something I could connect with for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. And you're right, it wasn't like super overt. At
Hmm.
least I didn't think it was, but you could like
Yeah.
feel it.
Hmm. Yeah. And I also thought that Laura Soltis was really fun as the Claudia,
Mhm.
as the villain kind of character.
Yeah, she's
She
really
was,
good at
I thought,
that.
yeah, she brought a lot to the role. And it, if I was going to nitpick, I almost wish this movie could have been like a series, because I feel like there's so much story here that
Oh
you can
yeah.
tell. And her change around where in the last scene, I was just like, oh, so it's all good, like it's great. Is
Yes.
it is it's very Hallmark because you can't end on like a complicated moment.
Mhm.
But I thought that she did a good job playing this.
Yeah. Well, and it was a really short movie. It was an hour and 20 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
And so I felt like everything was really tight. Like there wasn't a lot of room to expand on
Hmm.
some of the things. Like I would have loved to see them like really kind of ease into the whole line of him like volunteering and stuff like
Hmm.
that because it just
Yeah.
felt like, oh, he's such a hard guy. And then all of a sudden, oh, like he's playing with children. Like,
Yeah.
which was so sweet and I loved, but I'm like, let's ease into this a little bit. Like, I want to know your backstory. Why are you interested in like this? Why are you over here?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, it would have been nice to have gotten more with with him and his dad, with his like experience with the company. What is he trying to
mhm,
do? And all that. I it would be if they were going to ask me what's a movie they could turn into a series. I do think this would be pretty high up on my list. I think
mhm,
there's lots there, and I would definitely watch a sequel. I mean, it's always hard with Hallmark because people people want sequels to all of their movies, but it's
mhm.
hard because once the couple is together, like what do you do
Yeah.
next? But I feel like there's still enough if it was more of a workplace comedy kind of type film.
Mhm.
I think there's enough there because you don't want the tricky part is for sequel, you don't want the couple to break up, which sometimes they do, which I hate. And like I'm not a big fan of wedding movies because that's kind of the other choice because you have them get married.
Mhm.
And those can be frustrating. And so it's tough. But I think that there is something here, and there was just some good lines. I thought the writing was pretty sharp, and
Oh yeah. Some of
Claudia
the
can't
lines
Claudia
for
can't
him.
count past size 4.
Yes.
Yeah, that was good.
Yes. Well, in some of his lines, I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, and I loved when they see each other at work for the first time, and he's like, "It's you," and he's like I said, he's taken with her immediately.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then he
Yeah.
says, "I was enjoying your honesty." Oh, this is good.
Yes. Or like when she's hiding behind the clothing rack.
Yeah.
Are you hiding from me? I was laughing at that part too.
And she's just like, I don't work here, so I can just say whatever I want. And then I think it's the roommate says try to resist the urge to offend him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Less
my
opinions,
boss.
more sewing. So I think that they did a good job with the script. Who is the writer? Karen Berger, Luther M. Mace. I don't know them, but they crushed it with the script here. And I don't know, do you think it was too heavy-handed with the body positivity, or how do you feel about that?
I think sometimes it was, and then sometimes it felt right. So
Mhm.
like, some of it didn't feel quite so organic when they were just like talking back
Mhm.
and forth. Like, I think there was one part where she was like saying something about looking in the mirror. And I was like, okay, but like, how did this come up?
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so like I felt like they kind of like tried to walk the line pretty well, but some of it was like didn't feel organic to the conversation. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's when people start to be like, that's too much.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I can see that. I'm trying to find that quote about the mirror. Um, that it's somewhere in here, but yeah, I guess I can see that. I just felt like because she is working in fashion, she would
Mhm.
have to be a little bit more heavy-handed with it
Yeah, well,
in
I feel
order
like
to
especially in the
make a
office,
difference. Hmm.
yeah, where
Yeah.
she's like telling him, like this is why it matters, and like I felt like that was really needed, and like because she had kind of had to win everyone over, right?
Yeah. Here's the quote about mirrors. Mirrors used to be the enemy. Now they are just a piece of glass. What I see is
Mhm.
up to me.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
that was really good, a quote, but I'm like,
Hmm.
I wish it would have been weaved in a little better.
Yeah. I can see that. I can see that. So he invites her to coffee pretty much immediately, and he says, "I want to learn fashion from someone who loves it." And that, and he says, "Say yes. This is not how." And she says, "This is not how I pictured us ending up." Yeah. Um, and then uh, she puts this lavender dress on this woman, and he says, "When you look beautiful, you feel beautiful."
Hmm.
And I think that fashion at its peak will help us to. It is empowering when you feel beautiful in a beautiful dress and or outfit. I think it's true. She says she has the LFFF factor, or the IFFF factor, inspiration, fabric, fit, financials.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Shoot.
like that. The budget shopper in me was like, yes, financial.
Yeah.
And a good outfit.
Yeah. Uh,
I did like that though, because she kind of flipped that on its head. Like a lot of people be like, you need to dress beautiful so you feel beautiful, and she flipped it.
mm-hmm,
And I thought that was really powerful because, like, you could be wearing anything, and if you feel confident, that
mm-hmm.
shines through, I think.
Yeah. And I thought they did a really good job with him with the long lingering looks and just
Yeah.
very swoon worthy, which is one of my favorite things in rom-com.
Hmm.
He was just taken with her from the very beginning, which I love.
Hmm. Oh yeah,
Hmm.
he's so cute. Like I first saw him and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Brady from Virgin River.
Yeah.
I was like so excited to see him play a good guy.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, and so he's trying to make the change up the magazine. They're doing this digital edition, and they're trying to make the digital edition more accessible. And of course, Claudia is completely against this. And then there was also Eliza, uh who's Claudia's crony, basically.
Yes.
And she says that fashion should be aspirational and not something that everybody can relate with. So that's against what she believes, which I thought was like a believable motive for her character.
Yeah, I
I
think so
can,
too.
yeah, I can picture
Like,
somebody in fashion saying that.
yeah, because I think like a lot of the reasons why we love fashion magazines is because we get to see all of this like beautiful fashion that we don't have access to all the time. But I don't think that should apply to like body sizes.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, because I feel like it's still aspirational just when you see a beautiful person, no
Yeah.
matter what, that you can be not beautiful at any size, and in some ways, I don't know, I feel like it can be more aspirational to see somebody that just wears clothes really well and just is just beautiful and be like, oh my gosh, wow,
Mhm.
I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Speaking of,
So
like, that's one of my favorite TikToks to watch is like where they do the plus size version of like popular looks
oh yeah,
in
yeah.
magazines. And I love seeing those, and they always wear it so well, and like it looks good on them too. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that was good. One
Yeah.
thing I loved that they worked in was like Derek mentioned that he wanted to see more diversity in the magazine, and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
we have all ethnicities. Um, and I
Yeah.
kind of love that they address the fact that there is so much more to being inclusive than just like colors.
From the newest sensation in contemporary romance comes a delightfully heartwarming holiday story that's perfect for fans of Rayanne Thane, Denise Hunter, and Debbie Maycomber. Art buyer Charlotte Moore is given the chance of a lifetime to be head buyer for the esteemed Wallace Gallery's Christmas Charity Gala. But when she arrives at the auction, after the most prominent pieces are all bought up, in a panic, she bids on the final painting, an unsigned landscape she's nearly sure her boss will despise. To save her job, she finds herself in the beautifully festive New England coastal town of Seabreeze, the setting of the painting. When a nor'easter blows through, she's stuck at the adorable Cove Hill Inn, all decorated for the holiday and brimming with Christmas magic. Get your copy of The Christmas Promise by Lindsay Gibson today, wherever you shop for your holiday reads. That's The Christmas Promise by Lindsay Gibson.
It's true. Yeah. And so then he takes her to go and help with the basketball for the kids at the youth center. And she gets to see the sort of this other side of him. And it was sweet. They had a tricky thing to keep his character likable, and they also had a tricky thing with a workplace romance and not making it feel skeevy,
Mm-hmm.
with him being her boss. It's tricky.
Yeah, well, and they kind of like towed around that really well because she
Mm-hmm.
was like, I don't want to get paid by you. I want this instead. And
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of a twist that I didn't see coming at all. Like I figured she would work for him and make money and they would fall in love and run the magazine together.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I like the way that they did it better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What did you think of some of the side characters? There's like Oscar, and there's the designer, and Umberto, and some of the other side characters. Do you think they were fun?
Oh yeah, I loved Umberto. I think he was my favorite
Mm-hmm.
because he was like, this spread is not for sale.
Yeah. He was
The dog
good.
was so good.
Yeah, he was good. It's her like favorite photographer.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and like the very end scene when they had her like, it went so well because she goes to the photo shoot and she sees her dress and she's like, this is amazing. And then it gets better and she sees her favorite model. Like I just felt like it was like the
Mm-hmm.
finale of a fireworks show where it was like it gets bigger and bigger and better and better.
Yeah.
Like that was a very good grand moment for me.
Yeah, it was. It was good. And then we have Paul Essiembria playing his dad. And I thought that was a pretty well done dynamic.
Hmm.
Yeah. He probably doesn't look old enough to be Mr. Miller's dad, but it's fine. And, but I thought that could have come off real cliched, but it worked, I thought, pretty well.
Oh yeah, whenever he walked into the first meeting and he's like, I'm sure you'd like to see my father.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're giving Draco Malfoy vibes.
Yeah.
But actually, like, I think it worked out really well.
Yeah. Yeah. And so one of the first photo shoots, she really upsets Claudia because she takes off the necklace
Hmm.
in the shoot, and she's like, it's overkill, it's too much. And then Claudia says, well, this issue is not for sale. And Humberto says that this issue is not for sale because she's like, we have signed contracts with the jewelry maker, which yeah, they probably would legally have to include the necklace then, I would think. But maybe they'll just include it, I guess, with a different a different spread. But anyway, that was your first kind of back and forth between Claudia and her character,
Mhm.
and in Ella. I almost forgot her name for a second. And it's interesting her name's Ella, actually, because there was like a little bit of a Cinderella kind of feel to what's going
Mhm.
on.
Yeah, they did kind of tie that in.
Mm-hmm,
And I thought it was funny too, like I mean, really true to life about how, Derek was the man in charge, but they were like, we don't want Ella whispering in his ear. Like they were more threatened by her than by his character.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And then she talks to him, and he says, well, I want to talk to you about you and I. And again, this was very tricky because they had to make him not seem inappropriate and not
Mhm.
seem, and he says, I want to hire you. And he clearly also wants to date her from the very beginning.
Yeah.
But she says no. She says that she wants to be in the digital, not be hired, and to have this profile, which was very like bold of her.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, I thought that was a fun twist.
mm-hmm, yeah. And then they say, just tell him the truth, and I have to tell myself to keep an eye on the prize and not get distracted by an unattainable guy.
Yes.
Yeah. So
And then
that's
I
the
thought
little
her like
vulnerability to her character.
her best friend character kind of like brought some realism to the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought like she kind of addressed a lot of the things that viewers would have been like, oh, come on. And then she was like that voice for the
Mm-hmm.
audience, I almost thought.
Yeah. Yeah. And when she's talking about silk, she's giving him the fabric 101.
Mhm.
Again, a really good long lingering look from him.
Yes.
It was really good. The average size in America is 16. I've heard 14. I've heard 16.
Mhm.
It's definitely not a 4.
Yeah.
Uh, that's for sure. That's for sure. And then she says, then he says, you're cute when you get mad. Which is,
Favorite line.
she says, don't patronize me. And he says, I'm not. It was good.
Yes.
And she says, I see the most eligible bachelor in New York when I look at you.
No.
Yeah, she just doesn't believe it. And I can connect with that because I haven't had, and she didn't, I don't think, had a ton of experience. She dated a couple people, but she didn't believe that someone like him would be interested in her.
Well, and I think it's so hard too. Like they did a really good job showing what that looks like when they're out in public because
Mm-hmm.
here are all these models like looking at him and flirting with him and like there's me is what it feels like sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. And she says, she tells the story about shopping with her mom, and that she
Mhm.
realized her mom took her from store to store because they didn't have it in my size. And I think that we can all connect with that.
Yeah, that made me so sad.
Yeah, especially trying to find something like something for like formal wear is almost impossible. It's so hard. You
Yeah,
have
like
to get it
prom
custom made.
dresses.
Yeah. At least you did went back in the day. Now there's with online, it helps a lot.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's so true.
Yeah. That's where I aside from my jeans, which I get from Lane Bryant, almost everything else I get online.
Oh yeah, we've
Mhm.
been in my readers group on Facebook, we've been talking a lot about clothes shopping lately because it can be such like a traumatizing experience as a plus
Yeah.
size person.
Hmm.
And like the importance of like remembering that the clothes are for you, not the other way around.
Hmm.
And I like that they kind of centered that here
Hmm.
too.
Yeah, one of my favorites is it's called Sealed with a Kiss Designs, and they particularly have. I'm a big fan of the maxi dress.
Okay.
I think they call them nightgowns with style. They're so comfortable,
Yeah.
and just I feel like everybody, they're just really flattering and
Mhm.
the great. And anyway, that's where I get most of my dresses is
Oh, I'm
from.
gonna have to look into
Yeah,
that.
it's a good place and small, and so you feel good supporting them. Then I thought they had a really good moment where that biker comes kind of close to them, so it forces them into this sort of awkward meetup kind of thing. And I love that in rom-coms. It's one of my favorites. I know some people have grown, but I love the I call it the romantic movie fall. Like two are on the subway and oh look, I happen to fall like right into your arms.
Yes.
Or a lot of times in Christmas movies on ice or some kind. And,
Yes.
oh look, I happen to fall right on top of you. It's my favorite. I love that.
And I loved how he just like looked like a kid on Christmas
Yeah.
morning.
But it was smart because the intimacy was an accident, so it didn't feel skeevy. It's not like a creepy boss.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was very smart. And then she shows the designer her sketchbook, and then the lady says, it may be time to give up your day job.
I loved that.
Yeah. And then so Liza is pretty rude to Ella. And she tells him that she tells her that that Derek is just sort of using her to get clout, and she also tries to get her not invited to this this big event thing that they're having. And I do love the fact that he immediately was like, what? Of course you're coming. And just like, what?
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
All of that I thought worked pretty well. I thought she was both antagonists I enjoyed.
Yeah, I think so too. And I loved how after she was like, well, I'm sorry, there's not room for her. He like took off his nice guy glasses and was like, she's coming to the party.
Yeah.
You need to figure this out. Like I saw the CEO in him at that point.
Yeah. And then his dad says, temper your idealism with monetary realities. And I think that that's the thing about this movie, is that there were monetary realities to actually being body positive. To, like they say, that there are more these, the average size is size 16. So it's actually like you could sell more magazines if you made it more accessible and approachable.
Yes. Well, and I think that's kind of something, I mean, I related to that a lot as a writer, because I feel like, especially in a lot of the jobs that I've had, like they're not jobs that existed when my parents were growing up. And so they might say like, well, you need to do something more realistic and more responsible. But like, this is realistic and responsible for the times that we're in now.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then he invites her to dinner and he's like, don't worry, it's just a friend. It's a friend thing. And there's this, are we fighting or flirting? I love that.
That was a good line.
So good.
Yes. And then when she came home and her friend was like, you were on a date, she's like, no, we were just eating food and hanging out.
Yeah. And I forget which one of them says the company is hard to resist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much good banter.
Yeah. And then he said, you need to have more faith in yourself. Dream as big as you want. You've got the talent to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
And because there was nothing like really patronizing about her character, like she did have the talent, and so that again also made me more accepting of if there were heavy-handed moments, because I just bought that her character would have to kind of fight for these things, and would kind of have to be heavy-handed.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, and I think too, as a plus size designer, I would imagine that there's a lot of like backlash against what you're doing and what you're like trying for from like the traditional fashion industry.
Mhm.
And so I really did like that they tied that in. Like yes, you can like believe in yourself. You don't need to have a fallback plan.
Yeah.
You can like go all in on this. And I really
Yeah,
like
don't
that.
have a backup, go for it.
Yeah.
That's true. And yeah, and then I liked the whole scene where they're playing basketball with the kids, and they have that game of horse and everything. And then the friend, that's a happy man, must be the company he's keeping.
Yes, that was so sweet. And I love that she like went in and schooled him on like
Yeah.
helping the kid. Like
Yeah.
it was one of those moments in the movies where I could like fast forward and see them as like husband and wife coaching one of their kids like side by
Yeah.
side. It just
Yeah.
gave me all the warm fuzzies.
Yeah. And so then they finish their date, and she was just talking about her insecurities and how she's feeling, and he says, you need to commit to being a designer, and then she says, welcome to the inside of my head, it's my favorite place to be. He
Yeah, those
says,
one-liners are so good.
swoon. And then she says, you're in there a lot. And then they have their first kiss. And for a Hallmark movie, a lot of times the kiss is just at the very, very end. So to
Mhm.
have this kiss at this point, and then what I like about it is that it it actually mattered to the story. And she her insecurities, you could just feel her struggling with like believing it, and she enjoyed it, but also like kind of pulls back
Mhm.
after it, which I appreciated.
Well, yeah, when she was like, "This is all happening so fast," I was like, "What are you talking about? You guys been flirting for days and
Yeah.
spending every hour
Yeah.
together."
Yes. Uh, and then we have this is where we get Claudia saying fashion should be aspirational. We also see his dad sees them hugging at work,
Mm,
and he says, you make a business, are you making business decisions based on a momentary fling?
mhm,
And and then she talks to the dad and says, give him the chance to make you proud, he needs you to believe in him, which was sweet.
mhm.
Hmm. That was good.
Yeah, I mean, I like she had so much spunk to like go and talk to him because like I would have just wanted to hide.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So then they have this whole another date where he's making pasta for her, and he likes to cook, and they have kind of like flirty sauce tasting, and that was fun.
Yes.
And he plays the piano, and she's like, is there anything you can't do? Oh,
I know, and she like lays her head softly on
I
his
know. I love that. I
shoulder.
thought we'd agree you'd be less wonderful. And she puts his head on his shoulder. It was so good.
Yes.
So then what's interesting is they kind of go back and forth, and she says, I used to love Cinderella as a kid, but Cinderella never looked like me. And this is when Claudia makes sure that she tries to make sure that she's not invited to the party. And you get this scene with Derek and Liza, and he's like, she needs to be back on the guest list. Absolutely. This is me telling you what I want. Uh,
Yes.
about it. And so then we have her in this blue dress, and you're right, it did fit her well, but I did feel like it was a little promy.
Yeah, I
Like
could see that.
I could have
With the
used it
ruffles.
being, oh yeah, it could have been a little more high fashion,
Mhm,
because the rest of her clothes I actually thought were pretty high fashion, but
mhm.
it was a little promy, I thought.
Well, I love prom, so I'm like all for it.
But he loves it. He says, "You look beautiful. You and that dress deserve to be seen."
Oh,
And Claudia says, "Before this full-figured fiasco becomes a permanent policy." Which was good.
pushing the alliterations.
Yeah. And this is when Liza says that she says Derek is using you, and that he just wanted to score points for body positivity, the body positivity bandwagon. And it does feel a little bit inauthentic that she wouldn't. She's spent so much time with him that she wouldn't just be like, "You're full of it, forget it."
Yeah.
But I did like also that she gives him a legit reason to be upset with her. Like she was a flawed character for a Hallmark movie, and I did appreciate that. But I also a little bit like, especially coming from Liza, there's no way that she would believe this, of what is
Yeah.
said.
Like if it would have come from like her mentor or something, like make sure that he's not
Yeah.
using you or,
From Umberto or somebody like that.
Yeah.
But he makes this big announcement and she's gone. She leaves.
I
And so
know.
that's why he has a legit reason to be mad at her, which they tend to not do conflict that well in these movies.
Yes.
And he says, "I was really upset with you when you left." And then I also liked, he says, "I thought you knew me better than that."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I like that because she's just like, let's just work. And I like that he's like, no, we need to handle this. Like
Mm-hmm.
he cared enough about the relationship to like address the issue
Mm-hmm.
like an adult
Yeah.
and, get through it.
And he said, "You mean everything to me." I was like, oh, swoon.
I know.
And then the father says, I told the board the future of the company is in good hands. Everything is good. And then she shows up at the shoot and her favorite model is there, and it's Candace Huffine. And so that was fun.
Yeah, that was like the firework moment for me.
Yeah. And she's wearing an Ella original for the photo shoot. And
and when they took the pictures together.
yeah, it was cute. It was fun. And then this is where, Claudia all of a sudden, "Far be it for me to stand in the way of what sells."
Yes, that's true.
But it's a Hallmark movie. You only have so much time.
Oh yeah, they definitely like tied up every loose thread that there was.
Yeah. And then she said, they say, "I believe in you," and she says, "I ended up with the prince in the story," which is so cute. And then he says, "No, our story has just begun."
Yes, I loved that line.
Oh, it was very good. We get our kiss, and there we go, is the movie. And I just really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed JC. She actually won our breakout talent for our Hallmark Podcast Award this season. So because she was in a couple last year, that she was in a couple movies for Hallmark last year, and I just really enjoy her. I think she has a warmth, and she's beautiful, and there's she's just a good actress, I think.
Yeah, it definitely felt like very good acting.
And I thought they had good chemistry. Just all the things that you need to work for this kind of a movie really did work.
Yeah, and it felt, a lot of times like I'm trying to think of that. Sierra Burgess is a loser. Did you ever see that?
I didn't, but I heard about it.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a plus size character, and there's like Noah Centineo, who's like super hot and everything, but you didn't get to see the chemistry going. So like when they got together, you're just like, what?
Right.
But like this one felt believable.
It really did.
A couple.
It really did. And I give him a lot of credit because, like I said, he was swoon worthy from the very beginning. He knew what part he was playing, and he did great job with it.
I know. I was, because I like him in Virgin River, and so I was like, how's he gonna do in this role? But he did really well.
Yeah. Well, let us know what you think of this movie. We'd love to hear in the comment section or on Twitter. And if people want to read your books, we'll put a link, or we'll put an affiliate link in the description. But where can they follow you on social media, all that stuff?
On social media, I'm at Kelsie Stelting everywhere, so you can
Great.
find me there.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast, the Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews, 5 stars. It really, really helps a lot, especially as the holiday season is about to start. We need those reviews. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Most of our viewers are not subscribers. So if you're in that camp, please subscribe. It really helps the algorithm a lot. And then we also have our patron group, which is the best way you can support us. And it is, we give some really good perks. And so check that out. And also we have our merch store, which has tons of fashion, like the shirt I'm wearing right now. Very
So
fun.
cute.
So check those out. And thanks so much. This was so much fun to catch up and talk about this fun movie.
Yes, thank you.
Bye, everyone.